So I just wanted to start off by talking about bears in general. So I don't know if most of you know that there are 8 bear species in the world, but if we're able to protect all of the bear species in the world, not just one bear species, we're actually able to protect 2/3 of the world. So they're really, really important for conservation. In South America, there's only one bear species, as we know, the spectacled bear. There's only about 5,000 left in all of South America, but they're so important for conservation because they're the top apex predator. So they're the top carnivore, and many of you probably know the importance of that. That means they're maintaining the balance. They're also an indicator of the ecosystem health. They're also replanting the forest, and they do so much more than so many species. But one of the things we've also noticed, we've talked about them being indicators of health, and when we've seen the bear populations like we have in the north in this arid environment suffering, we see other species suffering. And you can see here really skinny pumas, and so other carnivores are the first to start suffering as well, other cat species and all the other endemic species. So we're in an environmental global crisis right now. Everybody knows that, and it's just getting worse and worse, and unfortunately we're seeing that typically or particularly in the north because it's an arid ecosystem. So it's being hit really, really hard by drought. Massive land is being taken away for agriculture, but also these droughts are causing huge problems. That didn't play this video. If you guys can play it. It's just a bear feeding on this arid environment, but I don't know if that's to do with this. But so there's so little food left for these animals. These animals are very well adapted to this type of ecosystem, but they can handle drought, but they can't handle 6 years without rain, and that's what's happening. They need to do this swimming thing that they do, and that helps them regulate their body temperatures. It allows them to feed longer. It gets them moving a lot more, and they're just overall healthy. But it's not just about the bears. It's about the people, their livestock, their agriculture. They need water, and there isn't a lot of water. And I know it sounds all gloom and doom, and I'm trying to be really optimistic, and there is a lot we can do. So I don't want to just focus on that negative pessimism about the global crisis, but it is something we need to think about, and we just need to think big. And that's what we're trying to do right now at SBC, is thinking about the bigger picture and how this contributes to conservation overall. Because we're getting really tired of seeing this, and hopefully the videos are playing. But this is becoming way too frequent. We're seeing this bear coming across into town, across a newly cut right adjacent to a land we purchased, looking for water. So, I mean, he doesn't have a lot of food, but once you have no water, it's pretty challenging. So, and then this as well, seeing dead horses and other livestock. So the people are suffering because of these droughts. And then we've gone from 6 years of droughts to then just getting hammered this year with water and rain. And to be honest, it just keeps coming. The rain just keeps coming. It hasn't stopped, and it's affecting people. They're losing their homes. They're getting washed away. And these arid environments aren't meant to have thousands of millimeters of rain. So this is the normal landscape that we work in. And this is what it looks like now. So it's spectacular. It's beautiful. But what does that mean? It's still raining. It hasn't stopped, and we're headed into a mega Nino. So all of the data is showing that we're going to be hit harder and harder by rain. So we're now going into our second year of rain. So what does that mean for bears here? This is a typical food, the sapote fruit that many of you know about. What happens when it rains? It suffocates. It gets covered in this vegetation, and it doesn't become pollinated, and then the bears have nothing to eat. So I feel really fortunate and a positive, thanks to WCN and the support we've received here. We were able to purchase land. And as land becomes greener and greener in this time, this is a perfect recipe for land traffickers. They come down, they steal the land, they divide it up, they sell it, and they say, this is incredible land, lots of water, it's just cheap. So lots of people buy it. So we're able to protect the land that we've purchased. We're doing patrols and ensuring that land hasn't been taken over. So our next step, as we look forward, is to purchase our next pieces of land. So you can see here on the map, the southern piece is what we've purchased. So we're protecting over 1,500 acres. And our next purchase will be doing 5,000 acres. So this is a $1.5 million land purchase, but it's the core bear population in this northern unique bear population. But we received some pretty hard news with bears being shot in the region. So sorry, I don't know why I always do that every time I see dead bears, but I knew this one was coming, so this is a dead bear, and I don't like seeing dead bears. So I'll just quickly go through that. But if we take 5 bears, which we heard are killed in this population, that's 20% of the bear population. So this is a core unique bear population, and we don't want to wipe out 20% in 1 year. So while we're fighting to buy land, we have to fight to keep those bears here. And so our goal is to purchase that land and work with this community. The problem is where these bears are being killed is a community we have little relationship with, and it takes a long time to build these relationships. So we're working really hard to break down the barriers and get into this community, which you can see is adjacent to a national park. They had land stolen from them from the government, unfortunately, and so their idea of conservation is not positive. And they don't really see a need for having bears in their area, and they're wondering, why do we even have them? So, but we made progress last year by starting a football league, and we had a competition. It was the Bear Cup, and we were able to have 4 female teams, which was also really awesome. And so that was a really great start, and it got us going, and it got us talking to the community. And so it's still really slow, but we're getting there, and we're able to start talking through them through other programs. So we're not talking about camera traps. We're not talking about anything to do with land purchase adjacent to their habitat or anything to do with that. We're just saying, how can we help you? We care. We care about you as people. We care about your community. And so we've started our vet program, inspired by Shivani's program, and we've been working with trying to understand what some of their threats are to their cattle and to other domestic pets, and that's making a big difference. But as you heard from Alex here, we need to do more than that. And so launching our Felty program in a town like this is really, really important. Walking in there and saying, hey, we want to hire every single female you have in your town is a really good way to start this program. So we're raising funds right now to hopefully launch this by the end of the year and get into the schools and start working with the children as well. So hopefully next year, and a positive note, I'm standing up here and we are celebrating that we just purchased 5,000 hectares of land, and we are ensuring that something like this is protected forever. So it's pretty amazing. And this wouldn't have been possible before, I wouldn't even thought about this before becoming a partner at WCN. So we're really appreciative of all the support we've received to already start this campaign. But it's incredible landscape. So yeah, hopefully bears like these 2 young someone else who are practicing to become the dominant male in the area will be living peacefully on this land that SBC will own in the future. So that's the north. Now we're going to fly down to the south of Peru to Machu Picchu. And everybody thinks of Machu Picchu as rock, ruins, and that's what Machu Picchu is. But it's actually so much more than just that. There's actually 16 different ecosystems in Machu Picchu. It's 80,000 hectares of land, so it's huge, and it's got a lot of incredible habitat. The biodiversity is incredibly rich. There's a ton of different species, endemic species to the area, but we're actually thinking way bigger than Machu Picchu, and that's what I wanted to talk about today. Our goal is to work with the government to create a UNESCO biosphere. So we're thinking really big because we want to contribute not just to bears in Peru, but we want to make a difference on this planet, and we think we need to be thinking big. We need to think about climate change, how we're going to combat that, thinking about all the other species and the people that live in this area. And you can see Peru is on the lowest, has the lowest number of UNESCO sites. So Machu Picchu is becoming an isolated island in the mountains and the Andes. It goes up to 21,000 feet. And it's big. But adjacent to it is a really big park. This is the Manu National Park. It's protecting a huge swath of land in the Amazon, which is incredible. But they're becoming isolated. And so our goal in the next few years, hopefully, is to create this UNESCO Biosphere Reserve that's going to be protecting 1.5 million hectares of land through bear conservation. And so when you look at it from afar, it's actually protecting a huge amount of land in Peru, and would be the largest Amazon Andes connected parcel of land. So I just want to have Alex come up here and tell you a little bit more about it.
I don't know. Hello? Or maybe yes. Oh, yeah. Okay, we have this big initiative, and for sure bears have to help us. Because as Robin says, bears are good indicators of the ecosystem health, and also they need large habitat. But it's not only for bears. So if we want to protect big areas, we also are protecting wildlife like this mountain toucan, which just survive in the high Andes and very good quality habitat in Peru. And in the same region, we have more than 200 birds in the area, which means around 25% of the birds living in Peru. Not only birds, also endangered animals like this taruca, deer, which survives above 15,000 feet above sea level. There are more butterflies around, and new species of discovering every year in the area. Also, this Vizcacha, which is the hope that we can find Andean cats in this area. So hopefully, after the camp traps that we are putting, we can have more good news. So we can share our collaboration with the Andean cat group too. Yeah, then again, the number of species is in the high Andes of Peru is so high. But what's happening? And we have threats, that's everywhere. So every year in the Andes and the Amazon in Peru, we are losing more than 150,000 acres of habitat because of forest fire, because of logging, because of the increase in tourism too, like in Machu Picchu. Every year there are around 2 million visitors going to Machu Picchu. Can you imagine the pressure to this area? So the Peruvian government is trying to open new Inca trails to visit the area, but you know, this creates conflicts. So the way that we are relating to the wildlife around even the ruins is not a healthy one. And local people is living in the area, and usually local people creates also these forest fires. And yeah, sadly, the Peruvian government doesn't have enough ability, neither the resource, to manage these fires. People like this Petronila, who lives in the area, who have been living for hundreds of years in this area, they don't have enough support from the government because most of the money that goes to tourism goes to the Ministry of Culture. So at the end, we have a national park with people living in the park, but living under poverty conditions. So as they need to, to survive, they have cattle in the area, and the conflict between cattle and the bears are also increasing. So it's a shame that we also have news that in the area, every year, there are some bears that are killed. But yeah, I want to share that we are in the first stage of this great work in Machu Picchu, and we just completed the biggest expedition that SBC has done, and probably even in the Machu Picchu. It took us more than a year to plan and to put 200 cameras around all this park. You know, it's been a very, very, difficult work. We had the collaboration with the park rangers, so it was very, very helpful to have the park rangers, the people who work for the park helping us. And with more than 26 people, we crossed from the glaciers and their extreme cold conditions. We hiked down to the valleys and get into the dense rainforest. So all this expedition was our first stage, and I want to show you a glimpse of this expedition.
Is that working? Yeah. As many as you know, I'm from Canada. We're used to big mountains, but this is like next level big mountain. This is really big mountain. Uh, they're huge, they're steep, and they're really hard to navigate. But I'm so proud of our team. They did it with a smile on their face every day. They got up every day. Nobody whined or climbed or complained. And we're so thankful to the Inca who built stairs for us in so many locations. It got us up to the high elevation Patamo as well to get cameras into these really remote areas that many of the park guards have never even seen before. So while everybody did it with a happy face, it didn't come without its challenges. We didn't have any major injuries, so that was great, but we did have a lot of that. So big mountains means big blisters, and I felt like we were sort of setting up base camp of blister camps. They weren't really base camps, they were blister camps, and getting everybody's feet fixed and ready to go for the next day. So, but everyone did it in a really positive. I had my own challenge because, as many conservationists know, and not like probably most people here, we take our families to work with us. So this is my family coming to work with me, a day in the life of me. It was an incredible opportunity. As it turns out, children are really great bears. So she's a perfect size. She did an awesome job, and she was able to test the cameras for us because we have to walk like a bear. And she did it with her bear mask on, which she just coincidentally got a bear mask. That was really awesome. So that was her job. But next generation conservationist. And there we go, it worked. Yeah, so she had a really important role, and hopefully we're getting the cameras out. We're starting this week, so hopefully they were placed well, like perfect level, and we'll get lots of bears and other species. So, but yeah, wow, was it ever challenging? And the mountains are big, I said, but it's also really cold, and we weren't totally prepared for cold. So we woke up on the first morning we were about 16,000 feet or 17,000 feet, somewhere in that high area, and to find everything had froze. So we were covered in ice, and all the water we'd collected the night before froze. So we spent a lot of time reheating our water so we had something to drink the next day. So the other thing we don't really think about with altitude is your oxygen level. So you think, oh, I might be fit. I'm used to running up mountains. But then you start looking at your blood oxygen levels. Like mine went down to 73. I think Kalea, my daughter, she was bouncing off the roof fine. But we all suffered a little bit. So that's an extra challenge and that's new work. But we did it, and I'm really proud of everybody. We got the 200 cameras out. It took a lot of collaborations with the government. They were incredible, the park guards. And so this is just one small step into something so much bigger. And like I mentioned, our goal here is to create this bioreserve as fast as we possibly can, work with all of the communities within this area, and try to protect as much land as we possibly can for all species. But there are numerous villages spread across this area, within the park, outside of the park. And so we have hired spectacle bearers now to join our team and to tell us where to go. And so our goal now is to get GPS collars out on these bears and have them tell us where we need to go, where they need to forage, where they need to reproduce, and what they need. And so that's our goal in the next year, and hopefully we'll be able to do that successfully. We've got the traps built. We've already got bears. We tested bears because they're maybe carnivores, but they don't always actually love meat. And so we were doubting that we might be able to capture them. But as you can see here, this bear is, I don't know, maybe you can play it. Is that right? Yeah. So we've collared bears in the north before, but they never once took any bait. So we had to free range them, which is very, very time consuming. So this is a really good sign. We don't plan on feeding bears like this. This is just to see if this is actually going to work before we get all our traps out there. So this is a really good sign. But what we don't have is collars. So GPS collars, we're purchasing GPS collars that also have a camera so we can monitor how much activity is used. Actually, when they're reproducing, it actually can show us when they're separating for their cubs as well. But we want to see really more than anything where they're going and how far out of the park they're going, which communities they're going into, and if they're getting into trouble. So our goal is to purchase to purchase 20 collars. Each collar is $5,000, so you're looking at $100,000 just in collars. So that adds a huge dimension to our program. But like I said, we're thinking big, we're scaling up, and we really need people's support. The bears, they really need your support, and we're so grateful for everything we've already received from everyone here. The land purchase has been incredible. So we're really thankful for that, but we're going to continue to be ambitious and continue to think big, and that's hopefully what we'll be able to accomplish. So we've got, like I said, an incredible team, very motivated, and they're really excited to be part of this bigger picture program now with the biosphere. So yeah, we need to keep plugging ahead. So thanks again for all of your support and for helping animals around the world and for being part of the solution as well. So thanks very much.
So I think we have time for, I'm going to step aside. One question which was submitted on Slido. Um, I think congratulations to the SPC team for the growth you've also achieved. One of the WCM board members, Bill Unger, was just raving to me about how much all the partners start from maybe an entrepreneurial small team, and they've grown to now UNESCO level impacts. And so it's really incredible to see the growth of SPC and the professionalization of all the work you've done. So huge round of applause for SPC again. On that note, so now that you guys are purchasing some land and managing land, we had a question from the audience about who are you exactly purchasing this land from? To avoid any conflicts of interest or ethics with purchasing land from people in other countries. And so who are you purchasing it from? How is the government or local community supportive of those purchases? And then what are your plans to manage it? I'll let you guys. And then, yeah, sure, what does it cost as well? I'll let you guys chat.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Yeah, so it's hard to fit it all in a presentation. So our land purchase is part of a three-part program. So we work with national parks, we work with indigenous communities, and we purchase private land. So we only buy private land. Much of the land in the north is owned by indigenous communities, as you can see, La Pescadera, the community that we're now working with. So we have no intentions of ever buying any land from them. But this parcel of land that we're now interested in purchasing, which is $1.5 million, so that's protecting 5,000 acres, has been owned by one person for the last 40 years, and he raises bulls for bullfighting. So they're shipped all around the world to Spain, but thanks to his bullfighting, that's the only last intact parcel of land, low elevation. So that's it. That's all that's left. So that's the last large parcel we'd be able to purchase. In terms of managing the parcels that we have a team of people that are working on the land. We're fencing off and we put on gates and signs, but we always have patrols going between the land. So we have our horses and the teams going out. So as long as you have a presence, there's not massive conflicts. And I think people are always going after what's easier. So land that's abandoned, land that's not, a lot of the land's owned privately by people in Lima, very wealthy people, and they're not there. So in our case, just having a presence at least a few days a week. So that's what our plans are. So.
All right.
Right.
Well, huge round of applause then to the Spectacle Bear Conservation team for all their.
Thanks, everyone.
Yeah, wonderful.